Thanks for staying with us on The Real Story. 2 years of this pandemic has tested our economy. Businesses have had to change, adapt. Some didn't make it. Others fared well, depending on the industry. This has been a tough climate, though, to navigate no matter what. And there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. COVID cases are declining. People are beginning to go back to work. Mask mandates are dropping. So where is our economic recovery here in Connecticut? We want to catch up now with Gjede, Vice President of Public Policy for the Connecticut Business and Industry Association. Good morning to you, Eric.
Good morning.
Okay, so where are we in our recovery? Are we still in the thick of it? Are we starting to recover? What's your analysis?
Listen, we're certainly better off than we were 2 years ago at this time. I mean, that's when things were really starting to shut down. People were in a complete panic, unknowing what to do. And we've certainly come a long way. You know, we had some ups and downs, but I think we're at the tail end at this point, or at least hopefully. But, you know, we're still certainly, the business community is suffering a lot, especially here in Connecticut, related to the pandemic. I mean, we are, still have only recovered about 75% of the jobs that we had pre-pandemic. But there's some real startling statistics out there. You know, there are 110,000 open jobs in this state, and there are 92,000 fewer workers. That's pretty significant, and it's something that businesses are struggling with. In addition to inflation issues, supply chain issues, after the economy had a shutdown, obviously we were going to have some impact from that. So businesses are still struggling in the state.
From the analysis of the data that you just talked about, what does that signal? What does that mean? Is it that people left the state? Is it that people have switched industries and don't want the current jobs that are necessarily open here in Connecticut?
You know, that's a great question, and I'm not sure that we have a solid reason as to why this is. Obviously, our population has gone down in the state. It had been going down even before the pandemic happened, and then a lot of people have chosen to shift careers, move out of state, take jobs across state lines, telecommuting in. So there's a number of issues impacting that, but it is startling. 92,000 less workers in the state. You know, our state, with just 1% of the U.S.'s population, those losses make up 10% of the total workforce declines in the entire country. It's really startling.
You know, we heard about all these people coming into the state. I mean, real estate prices have been, soaring still. So are people moving in, but they might have had the jobs that they're working remotely, the jobs that they had before?
I think that is a big part of it. People are still continuing they may be moving into the state, but continuing to work elsewhere. And other people are simply just not opting to go back into the labor force.
So how does Connecticut combat that? How do we take advantage of the situation that's there, or how do we improve what we need to improve to get workers and get our businesses those positions filled?
Yeah, it's a huge issue, and it's something that we are working on. We need to make our state more hospitable to businesses, and we need to attract people into the state. Make it easier to come into Connecticut. You know, start recognizing people's out-of-state professional licenses so that they can easily transition into new careers in Connecticut, and continue to attract employers into the state so that they continue to move headquarters here and lure more people in, because people are attracted to more opportunities, and that's something that Connecticut is certainly in need of.
Well, we have this going for us right now. We have an overflowing rainy day budget, and our coffers are full, enough that we have lawmakers, including the governor, talking about tax cuts. The governor proposing his various packages of tax cuts. Republicans, though, wanting the sales tax to get cut across the board. Where does the CBIA stand with all of those proposals?
Well, we like the number of initiatives in the governor's budget address that he gave on the opening day of the legislative session. He is talking about using more technology to reduce the state workforce, which will result in significant savings for the state. And he did talk about $336 million in tax relief. We were a little bit disappointed that did not include tax relief for businesses as well. And we are glad to hear that basically a bipartisan group of lawmakers have come out since then in their own ways, proposing their own initiatives that is a little bit more comprehensive and does include some tax increases. As you said, we had at least one chamber of the Republicans in the state government to propose sales tax increases, and I think that will be helpful, but we really need to also address some business taxes, like restoring the business entity tax credit, allowing our Connecticut's pass-through entity businesses take advantage of some of the same tax credits that corporations can, like the manufacturing apprenticeship tax credit, so we can train people into better paying jobs, the R&D tax credit so that they can develop new products here and new services and sell them in Connecticut and grow the businesses here. So that's what we're looking for at the end of the day when this session concludes. And I certainly think that a bipartisan group of lawmakers will be supportive of some of those initiatives.
So you all are for more of the increased tax credits versus tax cuts? Or, I mean, I would assume you both.
Yeah, obviously we like both. You know, we 100% agree with the governor that we need to make it more affordable for people to live in this state. So we do need individual tax relief. There's income tax. There's no question about that. But we also need to make it a little bit more affordable for businesses in the state. So that's why we would like to see some business tax cuts as well. A comprehensive package will go a long way to making Connecticut a better place for businesses and a better place to grow a family and live and work here.
Let's talk about a specific bill that you all do not feel like is business friendly. We're talking about Senate Bill 163, an act protecting employee freedom of speech and conscience to prohibit an employer from coercing any employee into attending or participating in a meeting sponsored by the employer concerning the employer's views on political or religious matters. You all look at this as an employer gag order. Explain why you don't like it.
That's exactly right. You know, we just talked about, Jen, how we have some significant issues in this state. We still have long-term debt that we've got, or deficits that we are going to have to deal with. We are dealing with a massive loss of workforce. We have hundreds of thousands of open jobs in this state. And yet some lawmakers, and actually not just one committee, but two committees, are focusing a lot of their effort to try to silence the business community from talking about anything that they deem political matters. Now, first of all, this bill has already been deemed preempted by federal law by one of our past attorney generals. But second, why are we trying to silence the business community about having important conversations with employees about things that matter, not just laws and regulations, but involvement in civic activities? And, there's just so much that could be deemed political matters under this bill. It's so broad that virtually any conversation an employer and employee have could be deemed political and could result in people either walking out of meeting or bringing civil actions against their employers. So it's just very disappointing that with so many challenges that we have in the state, that we have so many lawmakers talking about this particular issue at this time. Yeah,
I had reached out to Democrats to find out what the point was behind this bill specifically, and it was, they had said really about union organizing. They said that typically these types of captive audience meetings are used by employers to impede or stop employees from unionizing or to tell them why bringing in a union is bad. So when you hear that, you feel like the bill, the way it's written, is just so broad that it leaves businesses opened up to liabilities.
Absolutely. Some of the lawmakers are talking about, businesses threatening employees, which is already against the law. That cannot happen in the workplace. And if it is, then those employers should rightfully be prosecuted. This is a whole different thing. This is chilling all speech altogether at a time in this state where we need transparency. There's a lot of headlines right now talking about the need for more transparency in state government. And employers can be that source of information for employees. I know as an employee, I would want to hear from my employer when there's a law or a regulation or something happening at the state capitol that could impact the future of my job. I would want my employer to talk about that. I would want them to have that conversation with me. Yet this bill, and again, actually it's two bills, will stifle those conversations. And it's disappointing again that we're spending time talking about this when we could be working together with state government, business and state government working together together to create jobs and fix this Connecticut economy.
Interestingly, if you look at the wording of what it says, to prohibit an employer from coercing an employee into attending or participating in that meeting. So essentially forcing an employee to sit in a meeting where they might be giving their views.
Well, I mean, again, this goes back to the fact that the definition of political matters is so broad that it could cover anything an employer could say. If an employer was talking about energy conservation initiatives, that could be deemed political. If they were talking about diversity, equity, and inclusiveness measures that they are trying to impose, that could be deemed political. Vaccine or mask mandates, that's also could be political under this. It could go as far as whether you sponsor the local Little League team could fall under political matters under this. This is just a giant overstep by some of our state lawmakers trying to silence the business community.
All right, Eric Gjede, we will see what happens with the bill. It has not gone forward before, but it is up one of hundreds of bills that they will be considering during this short session. Eric Gjede with CBIA, thank you so much for coming on The Real Story.
Thank you.
All right, that does it for us on The Real Story. If you want to watch these segments again, head to fox61.com, or you can download the Fox 61 app and watch The Real Story every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on Fox 61. Thank you and have a great morning.